And take a live look at Atlanta, Georgia, where President Biden and former President Trump will square off in the CNN presidential debate that you'll see right here on Fox.
Both campaigns are making an 11th hour push to sway the voters.
Right. Bill Malugio knows all about it. He's live on the campus of Georgia Tech, near where tonight's debate will be. Bill, we pulled you off the border for a good reason. And this is one of those good reasons. Big debate, early June debate. Your thoughts?
Well, Brian, it's the first time since 2020 that Donald Trump and Joe Biden are going to come face-to-face with each other. We don't even know if they're going to shake each other's hands tonight, but Democrats are already trying to get under Donald Trump's skin. Take a look at this video right here. The DNC paid money to buy out 5 of these billboards here in the Atlanta area, putting up near highways out here, going after Trump for his recent felony conviction. It says, quote, "Donald, welcome to Atlanta for the first time since becoming a convicted felon. Congrats," or whatever. Well, a conservative nonprofit group is now hitting back at Biden in his campaign. They're going after him about his border policies and a recent slew of high-profile migrant crimes. Take a listen.
He was wanted for murder, but Biden let him in. He's charged with raping and beating Rachel Morin. Joe Biden's open border, a nightmare for American women.
In the meantime, Trump is trying to set some expectations heading into the debate tonight. He posted on Truth Social about Joe Biden, quote, "The man is a walking, lying machine and a fact-checker's dream. Maybe we should call him Lion Joe in addition to crooked." In the meantime, pollster Nate Silver thinks this race isn't as much of a toss-up as some of the experts out there think. Take a look at this. He put out his new prediction model, which shows Trump currently at a 65% probability of winning the election in November, while Biden comes in at 33%.
A USA Today's Suffolk University poll released last week shows that Biden's support among black voters has dropped to 63% nationwide, down from the 87% who voted for him 4 years ago. It's a notable erosion in the coalition that helped Biden beat Donald Trump in 2020.
The truth is, if that election happened today between Trump and Biden, Donald Trump wins.
President Joe Biden continues to lose support as Vladimir Putin sends out a warning to the United States. Now, the tension between the West and Russia continues to boil as it looks like the White House is not planning on peace anytime soon. In fact, there are many right now that they're saying that we're gearing towards World War III under this leadership of President Joe Biden, and a possibility that many Americans are worried about, as none of us wanted to be a part of this conflict in the first place.
Well, thank you. And I think we've got somebody here in the audience that really wants to ask you a question. Joe Mitchell's got a question for you.
Hi, Joe.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. President, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Clearly, it's no secret that our country is in chaos. The world is in chaos. What happened with Yemen and the missile strikes the last few days, Ukraine, Palestine, we don't even know where the Secretary of Defense is right now. Are we on the brink of World War III?
I think we're the closest that we've ever been. And, you know, Joe, this won't be a regular war. This is not going to be, as I say, army tanks running back and forth, shooting each other. These are weapons of mass destruction, the likes of which nobody's ever seen. I've seen them.
Despite the situation, though, what's really alarming now is that we're now hearing news outlets that continue to report that Biden is set to win the 2024 presidential election. Yeah, wild how some of these news outlets are reporting that, in spite of what Donald Trump's doing now, even though there are reports that are showing that the Biden campaign is internally panicking at the thought of another Trump term. Now, sources very close to the president have said that even former President Barack Obama is worried about the upcoming debate between Donald Trump and President Joe Biden. Now, if you guys remember, Obama, he had to recently guide President Joe Biden off of a stage because he suddenly had one of his frozen moments yet again.
On the video you were talking about. Yeah. There were 2 instances in recent days where leaders, former President Obama and Georgia Maloney, they physically put hands on the president to guide him and show him give stage directions. Are they doing that on their own, or has anybody asked them to run the show like that?
First of all, let me spoke to the most recent, right? And as we saw on Saturday, President Obama's office put out a statement. So I would refer you to that statement about what was being accused in those by others. And he said this did not happen in the sense of what people were saying they were seeing, right? Or what was being falsely reported that they were seeing.
Which has insiders believing that not only is President or former President Obama worried about the debate, but he's also worried that Joe Biden just isn't their best bet for November.
President Biden hunkering down with advisors at Camp David to prep for Thursday's CNN presidential debate. But some top Democrats, including former President Barack Obama, are reportedly expressing doubts about his strategy and his chances for winning in November. Karl Rove, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff, also a Fox News contributor, joins us now. Good morning, Karl. You know, this story pops up in the New York Magazine. What Obama is whispering to Biden, the president's plan to save their legacy from Trump. Here's an excerpt of it. Though his anxiety about the election is real, in the words of one Obama friend, the ex-president's concerns sounded a lot like those of other top Democrats. Those who are in regular touch with Obama say these nerves are not a reflection of any particular angst about Biden or his team, but of the broader reality. The country is closely divided, the media landscape is fractured, and Donald Trump may very well win. Your thoughts heading into Thursday and maybe this angst from Democrats?
Well, it's been there for a long while because they're seeing the same thing that the rest of the country is, which is he's suffering in office. They also are seeing public reaction to the economy, to the cost of living, to people finding it hard at the end of the month to take that paycheck and pay all the bills that are that they've encumbered during that month. So yeah, my view of the Obama wing of the Democratic Party is they had their doubts about him in 2015. Remember, he was a sitting vice president, and the president of the United States said, "I'm not going to support him in the 2016 election. I'm going to support Hillary Clinton." And that's that. There was tension already. That created more tension, but they've always had their doubts about his ability to win, and he won in 2016. He won in 2016. But actually he won in 2020 after not being a candidate in 2016, but they've had their doubts ever since, I suspect.
And anxiety is warranted given that he's failing at pretty much everything that the American people are worried about. I mean, we got issues at the borders, inflation, crime, and all these different global conflicts that they just kind of pour our taxpayer money into. Which kind of brings me to a very dangerous precedent that the Biden administration has allegedly started. In a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, from RFK Jr., he alleges that a U.S. missile launcher made by Lockheed exploded about 6 missiles over Russian Crimea. Now, these systems supposedly use a sophisticated targeting system that only Americans can use. It's been said that it hit a public beach where about 100 people were affected, with at least 6 people dead. RFK Jr. called this act as terrorism, and that this is an act of war from the United States to Russia. Now, before I get any further into this, guys, all I ask is that you take a second, hit the like button for the video. Really appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel and for sharing these videos. It really does help out the channel a lot. So the MGM 140 ATACMS system was said to have been operated from Ukraine. Now, remember, guys, President Joe Biden gave Zelensky the go signal to attack inside Russian territory. Although I really don't think that the message was to attack a crowded beach of civilians, which leads many people to question as to whether they're pushing Russia to another world war. Now, he added that only Congress can legally declare war and that, someone has to stop the impaired president who's in the White House right now. Do you agree with him? The guy who's going against President Joe Biden, on the other hand, is for sure to be called a convicted felon in this upcoming debate. Critics of Trump claim that he deceived millions of Americans by trying to hide this hush money payment that he gave to Stormy Daniels, a payment that supposedly changed the course of the 2016 presidential elections. Now, with that being said, let's talk about this letter from 51 former CIA intelligence experts who called the Hunter Biden laptop to be Russian disinformation. President Biden, he pointed out in a previous debate against Donald Trump that this was proof that the laptop was fake, even though years after that, we're told that the laptop is real. And to add to that, it's recently come out that not all these people were former CIA intelligence experts. It's being reported that some of the 51 people in this letter, they were actually active CIA contractors when they claimed this lie. At least 2 individuals were said to have had active contracts at the time that they signed this letter. So they also lied about the people who signed this letter being former intelligence operatives. And we all know that this influenced the 2020 presidential elections, and yet we're still not seeing anything being brought against President Joe Biden. This document was so controversial, guys, that even those within the agency, they've admitted that they won't be helpful to the CIA in the long run. In fact, these disclosures were included in an interim report by the House Intelligence Committee and the Judiciary Committee's subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government. And it's also revealed that then CIA Director Gina Haspel likely knew about this letter when it was submitted for review, which means that they tailored it specifically to defend Joe Biden, who was running for president at the time. Now, this is a clear sign of corruption, with many people arguing that these people, they shouldn't get away with this. And wouldn't this also qualify as being election interference back then? I mean, there are critics who even went so far as to say that this was a treasonous act, and that this letter influenced an election that has changed the trajectory of the United States for years to come. And the same can be said for the legal cases that Donald Trump is facing right now, cases that have brought in even more support for the former president. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey has recently announced that he's suing the state of New York for allegedly wrongful prosecution and election interference. This is, of course, in line with Donald Trump's hush money trial that we talked about just a second ago. Bailey posted on X and called out DA Alvin Bragg, labeling him as a rogue prosecutor who's trying to take a presidential candidate off the campaign trail. Now, many people agree with him and say that this case would never have ever been brought up if the defendant was not Donald J. Trump. This, in and of itself, cries of corruption within New York that a lot of people are tired of right now, especially for those who feel like, this was all set up to make Donald Trump look bad before the November election of this year. But what do you guys think has happened here? Was this a setup? Or is he actually guilty of trying to hide a second crime? Which reminds me of a previous video where I talked about the supposed secret plan that DA Alvin Bragg had with the White House going into this Biden-Trump debate. This one is a shocker for sure. Make sure you guys check that one out. I'll leave a link to that one either here or here, maybe in the description down below. But as always, I really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for hitting the like button on the video. Thank you for subscribing and sharing this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.